Are you ready for a show that talks sports from the fans' point of view?
We've seen Michael Jordan score 37 points a game in his era. How many could he score in today's NBA?
There's not a player out there who I'd rather have than LeBron James.
Are you ready for a show that isn't afraid to challenge anyone when it comes to sports? If Adam Silver really wanted to fix tanking in the NBA, he would stop rewarding teams by giving them the best chance to win the draft lottery.
I mean, how many times will Roger Goodell drop the ball on handling domestic violence in the NFL?
Look, athletes have every right to talk politics, but if the fans stop tuning in, that's their right.
Then you're ready for Talk Back, a podcast where two fans debate the media narrative and discuss the world of sports as we see it.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to another edition of Talk Back. It's episode 208. Justin and I are in studio tonight. It is Tuesday night, June 26th. We're recording for this Thursday. The episode will drop at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as it always does. Justin, we've had a lot of people talking to us online about soccer, World Cup, so we will make sure we get into that in our Talk-worthy section, certainly as we forge through round 3 of the group stages of the World Cup. There is a lot to talk about. Some of the stars have come to play, some of them not so much. We have a few surprises in which teams are going through and which teams are going home. But I think all in all, we're going to see a pretty good knockout bracket come next week, so we'll talk about that a little bit in segment 2. But before that, we've got to hit up segment 1, NBA. Yes, there is still NBA talk. Justin has informed me that the NBA awards have been given out, and I actually knew that, but I was trying to avoid the subject because, as you all know, I'm a LeBron James fan, and once again, he has not been given an award.
Loser!
So Justin is going to tell me why LeBron James wasn't given the highest honor in the NBA this year, and it goes to somebody else. So we'll talk about that and more with NBA in segment 1. And like I said, it's talk-worthy in segment 2, World Cup, NBA free agency, who's going where, what kind of things will we see with big names in the NBA? Will they move? Will they stay? Dwight Howard has already been shipped around. Even this week, we saw a trade between the Wizards and the Clippers that kind of surprised me. So free agency and trades, there's a lot of movement happening. And then if we have time at the end of the show, we'll once again talk about NASCAR. One of our favorite tracks, Sonoma Raceway in California, was unfortunately a bore fest. If you're getting a bore fest on road courses in NASCAR, to top off the fact that it's a bore fest on mile and a halves, we have a major problem. So if we have time, we'll once again talk about why we can't seem to get the France family and the powers that be at NASCAR to move this sport in the right direction. All of that and more on episode 208 of Talk Back.
We're back, and it's time for segment 1, and let's jump right into the NBA awards. If you followed this show, this has been one of the more hotly contested conversations and debates Eric and I have had over the course of the last few months as this award and the conversations start to pick up as the season ends of who should be the MVP. We found out during the playoffs that the 3 finalists for the MVP award would be LeBron James, James Harden, and Anthony Davis. They would be invited to the NBA awards. Well, the awards were Monday night on TNT as part of the new NBA TV deal. This is now a show that gets televised. And again, it's another way that the NBA has found a way to own the summer. Another topic of conversation that comes out. Who's going to win these award reactions afterwards? So we have our reactions now. Not to dampen you, I know you know who won the MVP award, but LeBron James was a winner on Monday night. He actually won the Player of the Year for his game winner over the Minnesota Timberwolves in that thrilling overtime game, which was Isaiah Thomas's last game in Cleveland. So LeBron was a winner. I'll take back the loser statement there I made in the teaser. But he didn't win the big award. That went to James Harden. He wins his first NBA MVP award. He's also one of the first players, I think, in quite a while to have actually won the Sixth Man of the Year earlier in his career and then win the MVP award. So kind of a cool honor for him to show the progression of his career. So, Eric, did the NBA voters get it right?
Well, I'm going to say no. I mean,
that's why I ask you.
we had this conversation a year ago when Russell Westbrook got it because of his triple-double action and the fact that he was the leading man and the most valuable player, not only on the Oklahoma City Thunder, but most thought in the league as well because of his superhero act that he did to get Oklahoma City basically to where they were, because without him, there's no way that they would have even been a 500 team. And so Russell Westbrook got to that point last year, and now you see where James Harden gets to that point this year because of the fact that he takes the Houston Rockets to their highest win total in the franchise history. I believe it was 65 wins. He led the league in points, over 30. Overall, he was good at triple-doubles. He was good at a lot of things. Now, with that being said, you have a guy, and this is kind of where I'm coming from on this, you have a guy in LeBron James who had a career year in his 15th year in the league. I believe if you look at just totals, he had more cumulative stats than James Harden, maybe not by average because Harden played less games than LeBron James did. James playing all 82 games of the season for the first time in his career. I think actually, Justin, that was kind of a proving point to the voters to try to get him over that hump. But look, he had the more impressive cumulative stats of the two. I think his average points per game was just over 27. It's not like he was way behind Harden in that aspect, but he had more rebounds, more assists, more triple-doubles, more minutes logged. I don't know what you can do if you're LeBron James. And so, Justin, as we approached this subject, and I knew this was going to come up tonight in the lead, I have to ask. I asked it on Twitter earlier this week, and I want to ask you here in the studio tonight, what can LeBron James do to overcome this NBA mantra that's happening right now of the next man up? And we've heard that statement before in terms of guys getting hurt and then the next man up has to take that role. In the NBA, it means something different. It means, well, we're going to go down our list and LeBron James has already won it many times, so let's give it to the next man up whose name isn't LeBron James. How does he battle that, Justin? What can he possibly do?
Well, from a statistical standpoint, he had his best year. I mean, he filled up the stat sheet. I don't see it as much as the NBA giving more of a lifetime achievement award. I know that's how they get tabbed. But again, the Rockets, they had 15 more wins than the Cavs. Harden averaged almost 30.5 points a game, almost 9 assists. So it wasn't like he was statistically down. Like you said, he had the triple-doubles, 4 50-point games. He had a 60-point triple-double versus Orlando. I don't really know if that counts because Orlando's so bad. But statistically, it's still on the stat sheet that he had it. Played in 72 games. He only missed games because of legit injuries. It wasn't like rest. So I think for LeBron, if he's going to win it again, he's going to have to be on a team that finishes 1 or 2 in the conference that he's in, and he's going to have a similar year where statistically it's close. I think you could have obviously made an argument for LeBron this year to have won the award. The problem is, again, it's almost like we talk about with LeBron when we talk about the greatest player of his generation or greatest of all time. There's almost a different type of debate that you have to have, and you have to start a nitpick. And that run that LeBron had in December and January when the Cavs were a mess, the locker room was a mess, the whole Isaiah Thomas situation was breaking down, and they went on that massive losing streak where they looked like they were going to potentially fall out of the playoffs. None of us were thinking that that would happen at the end, but there was a chance they had fallen back to 6th and 7th where they were only a half game out of the 8th position. The Rockets never had that. They looked like they were the number 1 seed right from the get-go of the season. They held on throughout. So I think from that standpoint, if LeBron wants to win again, I actually think there'll be a swell back for LeBron to almost kind of cap off his career. But I think he has to do his part in carrying a team to more wins than they have. It has to be closer than 15. Last year, Russell was so far statistically above with the triple-double, which is something we'd never seen a player average a triple-double for an entire year. That was something that I think it just took the voters by storm. This year, I think it was closer. I didn't see what the actual vote numbers were, but I think it's just the 15 wins, that disparity just made it hard. So for LeBron, I actually think that the voters will turn back to him, especially if Eric, we'll get into it in segment 2, especially if the swell continues of him potentially staying in Cleveland. I could see voters having more of an empathetic heart for him, wanting to see what he's going through, the stats that he puts up. If he gets close to playing another 82 games, they have another good year. I think that's how LeBron can get back to winning a 5th MVP award.
So as I understand it, you're saying that the Rockets having more wins and the segment of weeks that LeBron had in the middle of the season is essentially what cost him the award this year. Is that what I'm understanding?
I would say this year, yes.
Okay. So it seems that the voters agreed with you. I looked it up as you were talking here in the studio. James Harden had 86 first place votes and LeBron only had 15. So it was actually a pretty wide margin. Now, my concern is that if we're going to base it on one team having a little bit more wins than the other team, you could have essentially guys like Anthony Davis, even others that are coming in, and that plays a part again, where let's say LeBron stays with the Cavs, or let's say he moves on to the Lakers and builds another team in LA, and then they come up and they fall 10 wins shy of a Boston or a Golden State, and yet LeBron has a great year. Are you saying that that could cost him an MVP yet again, and maybe an Anthony Davis being very valuable to the Pelicans is going to put him over the edge as the next guy up? I mean, that's what my concern is that there's always going to be a yeah, but, and these yeah, but-isms are always going to catch LeBron in a thing where he just can't seem to win.
If you look back last year, Rockets improved 10 games. If you have a guy like, we'll take Anthony Davis, for example, Pelicans had 48 wins this year. We don't know what's going to happen with DeMarcus Cousins, but we do know that this Pelicans team, in that up-pace style of play that they played towards the end of the year, really worked with them and worked with Anthony Davis. So if they take their win total from, say, 48 to 57, 58, 59 wins and have that kind of improvement, and Anthony Davis has a year where he puts up 31 points, 12 board type of year, that's going to be what he needs. That will be his recipe to win. If LeBron goes to the Lakers and they go from a 35-win team to a 50-win team or a 53 or a 55-win team, and LeBron has his stats and they're close to everyone else, I think that's how he can win the award. So I don't necessarily think it always has to be the most wins. I think it can be improvements on your team. If you make that kind of jump, I think that's how some of these guys can win the award. I think you do go back to last year with Westbrook, and just what he did was something we've never seen. So I think if you can do that, even if LeBron has a year, I think I talked about it months ago with LeBron, if he has a year where he has 13 or 14 assists, some total that we've not seen for a long time, and his team start winning, even if he goes to a Lakers team, like I said, they get to 48 or 50 wins, and LeBron does something we haven't seen, 12, 13, 14 assists along with 25, 27 points a game, I think the voters would look at him and say, that's a pretty impressive year. It just gets convoluted when you start talking about free agency of who he's going to go with, where he's going. But I think that's the pathway that the NBA is looking at, where there is a path for an Anthony Davis to win. And I think he could be the next guy because statistically speaking, there's not a lot of players that can put up the stats that he can if he stays healthy. That's the big question mark with him. Can the Pelicans win, and can Anthony Davis stay healthy? Because he's going to be right there in the MVP race next year.
Yeah, and I could certainly continue with counterpoints. I mean, how many wins is Chris Paul worth to the Rockets in their wins this year versus
Apparently 10.
Last year? Yeah, so I think there's other factors to that, and I just think, Anthony Davis or even a Kevin Durant might cycle back around, or even a Russell Westbrook might cycle back around.
If KD stays in Golden State, I think he and Steph, they almost offset each other where they're never going to win another MVP with each other.
Wow, okay.
I just think their numbers are there where Steph's always going to average 25 plus a game, and KD's a guy that's going to be about the same. They don't do a lot else in the stat sheet. I mean, KD's a guy, they can get you 7 or 8 rebounds, 5 or 6 assists a game. But when you have these guys that have the ball in their hand, like Harden, like Westbrook, like LeBron, and then you have a guy like Ben Simmons coming, these guys are going to always fill up the stat sheet, and their teams are going to be good. That's why I don't see Durant or Steph together. I don't see either one of them ever winning an MVP award again together.
Yeah, and to me, it's probably a lot of me being a homer, but to me, I thought I did see LeBron do something like Russell Westbrook last year, do something we've never seen before, and that is that I believe I'm correct in saying that no other player in the history of the league has put up the amount of stats that LeBron did in his 15th year in the league. I thought that would count for more with the voters, but it really didn't seem to.
So let's swing it over to the other topic that we had talked about early in the year, and that was the debate around the Rookie of the Year award. A lot of talk from voters, from other people in the NBA media, that Ben Simmons should not be eligible to be a rookie this year because he was drafted last year. He just didn't play. But there was a lot of talk coming out of that. Well, talk be damned. Ben Simmons is Rookie of the Year. So, Eric, This award, I've stated my case for it. I felt it was ridiculous to penalize or try to penalize Ben Simmons for something he can't control. This is a NBA rule. There's precedent set. Blake Griffin won the award the exact same way, sat out a season, came back and won the award years ago. No one